Welcome to Social Media Trainwrecks, the Friday show where Clark Edwards and I roll up on the week's biggest brand disaster and pick through the wreckage. I'm Giovanni Gallucci. We find the dumb decision, the post that poured gas on the fire, and the one move that would have saved them. Clark, what are we rubbernecking at this week?
Gio, this one comes from the last place you'd expect. An AI company made a commercial so dark that people thought it was an anti-AI ad. We're doing Anthropic, the folks who make Claude. They spent real money to remind the whole world that AI might kill us all, and then asked everybody to sign up.
Now that's a Friday. A safety company that scared the whole living room. Pull us up to the crash site because I've got a feeling this one's more instructive than it looks.
So here's the wreck. July 9th, Anthropic drops a 90-second film called Hard Questions. Tagline, "There's hope in hard questions."
Okay, and where do they run it?
That's the part that matters. They don't tuck it in a corner of the internet. They buy an ad break during the World Cup. Argentina versus Switzerland. Enormous crowd.
So far, that's ambition, not a wreck. Big brand, big stage, everybody's watching soccer. What did the ad actually put on the screen?
It opens on a house on fire. Then a crowd getting scanned by facial recognition. A homeless person asleep on a sidewalk. Row after row of headstones in a cemetery. People working down in a mine.
And the words laid over all that?
A voice asking, "Can AI be trusted? Who's going to hit the brakes if we need to?"
A burning house in a graveyard during a soccer match. Let me get the room right, Clark. Somebody's got a beer, their team just missed a shot, and the TV cuts to surveillance and tombstones, brought to you by a chatbot.
That's the room.
Then that's the wreck. And here's what makes it a good one. The intent was actually noble.
Noble how? It sounds like a horror trailer.
Anthropic's a public benefit corporation. Their whole pitch is, we're the lab that takes the danger seriously. Inviting hard questions is a real defensible idea. They even built a site where people send in their fears and the company promises to answer them. On paper, that's brave.
So where's the bonehead move?
Putting the essay on the wrong billboard. There's a version of this that lives beautifully in a keynote or a long read on their own site. Serious people, leaning in, ready to sit with the weight of it.
And instead?
Instead, somebody bought a World Cup slot and dropped that exact same tone into the most casual, least braced audience on the planet.
Does the audience really change the message that much?
The audience is the message, Clark. Same footage, two rooms, two completely different ads. In front of a hall of AI safety researchers, a burning house reads as courage. Look, they'll stare straight at the risk. In a World Cup break, that same burning house reads as, what's wrong with these people? And why are they selling me something?
The pixels didn't change.
The pixels didn't change. The room did. And on social, the room always wins. You don't get to send an ad out into the world with an instruction card that says, please view this in the correct frame of mind. People take it however they're sitting when it hits.
And there was one image people really got stuck on.
The graveyard. Those rows of headstones look to a lot of folks like a military cemetery, and once your brain lands there, you're gone. You're not weighing thoughtful AI policy anymore. You're thinking about the dead.
So the picture hijacks the whole ad.
When your imagery accidentally borrows the most solemn thing in the culture, the ad stops being about your product and starts being about that. Anthropic didn't mean the association. They just walked the brand right into it, wearing a lab coat.
And there's a second layer here, right? This is a safety company.
That's the knot, Clark, and it's a beauty. Every other brand on that broadcast is selling you comfort. Buy the truck, feel free. Drink the beer, feel loved. Anthropic's whole identity is, we're the grown-ups who see the danger coming. So they can't run a warm, fuzzy ad without lying about who they are.
So the fear was kind of the point.
The fear was on brand. That's what makes this one hard. They were honest to their own worldview. But there's a difference between naming a fear and marinating a stranger in it for 90 seconds with no handhold to grab. You can be the brand that takes the danger seriously without making the danger the entire experience of meeting you.
All right, the internet does what it does. And this time, it brought a celebrity heckler.
Who took the shot?
Sam Altman. Runs OpenAI, their biggest rival. He quote posts the ad on X and says he thought it was satire. Says he kept looking for the handle to be spelled C-1AUDE, like a parody account. Over 1 million views on the dunk.
And that's the escalation. And it's brutal. When your competitor gets to be the funny one at your expense, you've lost the room.
Why does a joke hit harder than an argument?
Because you can't out-explain a laugh. Altman didn't have to prove Anthropic was wrong. He just had to point and grin. Mockery beats a rebuttal every time, and it's cheaper to make.
So what does Anthropic actually do about it?
Here's the interesting part. They basically don't. No apology, no walkback, no "we hear you" post. They let the ad stand and mostly stayed on the original message.
And how do you grade that, Gio? Because on this show, silence usually gets a brand killed.
It's a split decision. I'll give it a C.
Start with what they got right.
They didn't grovel. This was a deliberate choice tied to a real mission. When you actually meant the thing, a panicked apology is worse than the ad. It tells everybody the conviction was rented, so not folding, I respect that part.
Then why only a C?
Because not apologizing and not answering are two different things, and they blurred them. Standing behind your idea doesn't mean going quiet while a rival CEO writes your headline for you.
So what was the move?
Step up fast, in daylight. Say, yeah, the ad's heavy. Here's exactly why we made it, and here's the thing we're actually asking you to do. Own the tone, then point straight at the substance.
And they didn't.
They let a whole news cycle get narrated by the guy who thinks the whole thing's a joke. The ad was the first fire. The silence was the second.
The second fire, again.
It's practically the theme song of this show. A brand does something clumsy, that's survivable. Then it freezes, and the freeze is what turns a rough day into a rough week. Anthropic had the harder, better play sitting right there. Don't apologize, but don't vanish either. Just talk. They went looking for a door in the middle that doesn't exist, and while they hunted for it, the vacuum filled up with Claude AI jokes.
Okay, this is the part folks came for. What stops this before it ever airs?
One test, and it costs almost nothing. The cold room read.
Walk me through it.
Before that ad clears, you sit it in front of 10 people who've never heard your name and don't care about your mission. Not your team, not your believers. 10 strangers off the street.
And you ask them what?
You play it once, and you ask one question. What's this ad make you feel about the company that paid for it? If the answers come back scared, confused, or that's the villain, you've got your note. And you got it for $400 instead of a World Cup buy.
And you're telling me a company that big didn't run that test?
Oh, they had rooms full of brilliant people. That's exactly the trap.
How smart people a trap?
The conference room is the most flattering mirror a brand owns. It only shows you the version of your work where everybody already agrees with you. Everybody in that building already believes AI is dangerous and Anthropic's the good guy. So the burning house looked like honesty to them.
And you only find out the truth by leaving the building.
You have to walk outside to learn it looks like a horror movie to everybody else. The mirror inside will never show you that. It can't. It's made of people who love you.
So how does a brand stormproof itself against its own good intentions?
3 things, and they travel to any brand, whether you sell chatbots or cheese. First one, match the message to the medium before you match it to the mission.
Meaning a true thing can still be wrong for the slot.
Exactly. A hard, heavy idea can be dead right and still be wrong for a World Cup break. The bolder the tone, the more the placement has to earn it. You don't put a funeral in the middle of a party and act surprised.
Okay, that's one. Second?
Appoint a cold reader.
Define that.
One person whose only job is to watch the work as a total stranger and say, here's how this looks to somebody who doesn't love us yet. And you give them a real veto, not a comment box nobody opens.
Who holds that veto, though? Is that a junior person or a senior one?
Senior, and outside the project. If the cold reader reports to the person who made the ad, they'll fold every time. You want somebody who can walk into the room, say, kill it, and not lose their job for it. On a live controversy, that's the same seat that should hold the post button. One calm person with the authority to say, not today.
And the third?
This is the one for anybody with a real point of view. Decide your conviction in private, then translate it in public.
Unpack that.
Anthropic's belief isn't the problem. The problem was shipping the raw, untranslated version to people who needed a doorway in, not a fire in a graveyard. You can hold a serious position and still hand a stranger a way to walk toward it, instead of an image that makes them back up.
So conviction alone isn't enough.
Conviction earns you the right to be heard. Translation is what actually gets you heard. Those are two different jobs, and most brands only staff the first one.
So the takeaway isn't be less bold.
Never. Bold is the whole business. I'd have pushed them to be bolder about the idea, not softer on it.
Then what's it?
Your worldview needs a translator before it meets a crowd. The brands that survive their own big swings aren't the timid ones. They're the ones with somebody standing by the door who reads it cold and says, "I love it, and here's exactly how it's going to land on a stranger." That person is the cheapest insurance a brand can buy, and almost nobody hires them. So here's your souvenir from the wreckage. A serious idea isn't a serious ad. Anthropic had a good thing to say, beamed it into the worst possible room without a translator, then went quiet while a rival turned it into a punchline. Decide your conviction in private, translate it for the crowd, and pay somebody to read it cold before the world does.
That's the show. Social media train wrecks, every Friday, where somebody else's bad week is your cheapest lesson. I'm Clark Edwards.
And I'm Giovanni Gallucci. Read your own ad like a stranger who's had a rough week. If it scares them, fix it before it airs, not after. See you next Friday.